Welcome to our 15-minute masterclass on how to scale your sales. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to go through the entire process of scaling out your sales from your personal sales skills and scripting to the sales system and strategies, what that should look like, and then moving into talking about how do you build a sales team so that you really can build something that is sustainable, that's predictable, that's consistent. And today I'm going to show you exactly what that process looks like, because I know that you too want consistent, predictable sales that you can see growing and growing year after year after year. Whether you want to build that kind of at a slow and steady pace or you're looking for like a monster explosion, this process is going to work for you, and it has worked for many of my clients. I'm Amy Walker. I'm a client acquisition specialist, and my job is to help you find the easiest, simplest path to organic lead generation and scalable sales. The first thing we need to talk about is going to sound so ridiculously simple, but it is critical. Have you actually chosen a scalable sales strategy? A lot of businesses, the reason why they can't scale the sales is because they're not actually set up to do that in the first place. So either they have picked the wrong strategy. By the way, you can know that if you look at it and what you're doing right now, currently, you couldn't do twice as much or 3 times as much or 4 times as much. Maybe it's really labor intensive, your sales process. Maybe there's no automation. There could be a lot of reasons why, but if you look at it right now and you say, yeah, Amy, I literally can't double or triple based on what I'm currently doing, then you automatically know that's where you got to start with the strategy. Systems is the second thing that we're going to look at today. Do you have the right systems in place to be able to support scaling? The third thing we're going to look at is automation, because if every single thing that happens requires you remembering to do it, we're gonna have a problem. That's not very scalable. We have human brains that forget things. And then the fourth thing that we're gonna look at is your team. So do you have the right team in place? What types of salespeople should you be looking for? We're going to talk about 4 different options and figure out what's going to be the best one for you. Scaling doesn't happen overnight. It actually happens in 3 separate phases. So the first phase is going to be making sure that you have consistent, predictable sales. So this is going to be really heavily based around your sales skills, your sales process, your scripting, and all of the things that you need to do to make it work. The second phase is going to be building the systems, because we want to build systems around what we know is working. When we build a system and we don't know if it's working, sometimes we spend a lot of energy building a system for something that has to be redone anyway. So we want to test it first with you, then build the system. Once you have the system in place, now you can go into hiring the team, and that's how we level up. Now, the cool thing is, if you don't want to build a team, you could work on your sales process and your scripts, your sales skills. You could build a system around what you know is working, and you would see your sales start to go up. So first, we're going to start with you and your sales process. The first thing that I look at is your sales scripts. Whenever someone comes to me and they're like, it's broken, please fix it, I don't know what to do, that's where I start, because so many of the problems in closing can be solved within this particular script. So here's 3 things that I look at when I'm analyzing scripts. Number 1 is, did you have the script professionally written? Did you use a professional template, or are you just kind of talking and informing? Because there is a psychology behind the sales process, and if your sales script doesn't include the process that someone needs to go through in order to make a decision, then it may not be effective, even though you're saying the same words every single time. The second thing that I'm going to look at is consistency. I have had clients where they ask me to review their sales, and every single call is different. And it's so challenging to pinpoint what needs to change because there's no consistency. It's like in science class when you needed to have constants to go with your variables. Your sales scripting process needs to be consistent, because otherwise it's not duplicatable. Nobody else can do it except for you, and your results will not be duplicatable either. They'll be kind of all over the place and hit and miss. The last thing that I look at is making sure that the script is not built in a way that it only works for you. So sometimes your sales process is not duplicatable because you're taking your core competency that you are brilliant at and expecting somebody else to know how to do that and to know your products and to close them, and really they can only do two. The next thing that you want to look at is actually your sales skills. This is going to be things like your sales confidence. It's going to be knowing how to overcome sales objections, understanding the psychology of sales, knowing how to use questions to help access the subconscious and create deeper levels of connection, rapport, and trust. Also using questions so that your clients will basically talk themselves into buying from you instead of feeling like you're talking them into it. It's understanding your numbers and how to read them and knowing what's the story that they're telling and what does that diagnostic show you. And also really working on your sales mindset. That is a lifetime long work that you will constantly be doing. But when you don't have strong sales skills, a lot of times people think, well, I'll just hire a salesperson. But then the problem is you don't know if it's going well or not. You're lacking too much information and it can become stressful, and sometimes you end up, it's an expensive mistake to, I call it abdication instead of delegation, where you're just like, I'm out of here. Like, you take care of it, you run the sales. So I think every business owner needs to work on their personal sales skills, even if you are not the primary closer. Now, once you've got a process that is working, you know the scripts are working, your skills are where they need to be, and you're starting to see a consistent closing ratio that you're satisfied with, somewhere between the 20 to 40% range is a really good, healthy place to be. Once you get there, now we're gonna build the sales system. And so the sales system is going to look at your lead stages. It's going to look at the customer journey from the time that they come in as a brand new lead, where you've just got a name, an email, and a phone number. We're going to map out every single piece of the customer journey, and we're going to figure out what do we need to create, build, or do in order to move them from one lead stage to the next. People don't just show up ready to buy from you. They go through an experience of being aware of the problem, being aware that you're a solution potentially for them, being interested, doing a little bit more digging to find out if you're really the right person for them, then being ready for a sales call, right? Like, all that stuff has to happen before they're ready for a sales call. So we need to make sure that we are proactively moving people through. How do we do that? It's with standard operating procedures. So you need to actually write out your sales SOPs. Then we are going to look at the software that we need to actually do this. So I like to build out the processes before we select the software to make sure that we find a software that fits for you. Whenever possible, you want to try to find an all-in-one software where you can manage your sales pipeline alongside all of your marketing, because it's just a lot simpler and it's going to save you a lot of money. And then we've got to figure out tracking and reporting. And so that way you absolutely know what is happening. You don't want to hire a sales team before you get to this point. This is like the starting foundation point. And doing all of this is going to help your sales go up immediately. Let me share with you the 4 consistency killers that I see. Number 1 is that you're a one-man show. The reason that's a consistency killer is because you're human. You get sick, you go on vacation, you get tired, you get burnt out, you get sad, like things happen. And if your whole system is built on you being there and at the top of your game all of the time, that's bound to be inconsistent. Even if you're great. The second thing is inconsistent lead flow. So if you don't have enough leads coming in and it's causing you to have feast or famine because there's not a just consistent flow of good people to talk to, that's a consistency killer. Messy systems and people falling through the crack, that is a consistency killer. And a lot of times that's because you think you're going to remember everything and just be able to do it. And we're not that good. We're human, right? And then the last one is that the number of leads coming in is not equal to the number of leads that you need to hit the sales goal. So you're not being consistent hitting that goal because you're trying to pull more out of a lead pool than it can consistently support and sustain. Now let's talk about building your sales team. There's 4 different positions you want to consider for your sales team. Number 1 is an appointment setter. They can be someone who is either calling your organic and warm leads, or they can be prospecting cold leads and trying to get calls from there. Number 2 is going to be a business development salesperson. They're going to go out and kind of serve like marketing and sales, where they're building relationships, they're networking, they're getting your name out in the community, and they're bringing business opportunities back and closing them. The third is going to be a closer. This is somebody who they're going to close the deals. If you have a lower ticket price point, they're going to be setting and closing. You only need one person. But if you do have a higher ticket price point, a lot of times it will work better if you have a setter and a closer, because the setter can just do all the dials and all of that just time-consuming work for significantly less money than what the closer earns, and then that frees the closer up to just close deals. The last person that you want to consider for your sales team is affiliates. These are people that actually have their own platform, they have their own business, but you're going to incentivize them and pay them when they send people your way. And so you might have all of those positions on your team, you might have one of those positions on your team. Whatever your makeup, we just want to make sure it's the right thing to help you hit your goals, and it supports what you ultimately want to be doing more of in your business. So if you love sales calls, you'd probably love to have a setter. If you don't love sales calls and don't want to be doing them, you'd probably love to have a setter and a closer, or a business development person, or a whole bunch of affiliates. Affiliates on their own can be really inconsistent. So I don't usually recommend that you do that and only that. If you are ready to hire and you are at this point, there are 8 things that I do as I'm building my sales team. This is the hiring process. So number 1 is I build the sales system and I get all the deliverables ready to go, everything that they need to be successful. Number 2 is I'm going to actually create the commission structure so that I know what I'm paying them and how I'm paying them, and I'm making sure I'm not overpaying. This also gives me an opportunity to see if I need to adjust my pricing, because you may have made a mistake when you were setting your prices and that you considered yourself free labor. There's no such thing as free labor. So if you need to hike up prices to cover the percentages that you're going to pay out, this is a really good time to do that. Third, we're going to post a well-written job post that is designed to attract people in. This is sales copy right here. We're going to try to increase the number of applicants that we get because we're small businesses and we're competing with the big guys. With salespeople, I do 2 interviews. The first interview is an interview to see if they're a culture fit, if I like them, if I can see them on my team, and if I think that they'll interact well with everybody else and with my customers. The second is actually a skills assessment where we're going to role play, and I'm going to have them go through and close me using my scripting, and I'm going to throw different scenarios at them and actually rate them and score them on their sales skills. Once we've done that, we extend the offer, and then we're on to our last 2 pieces, which is training and the scale up plan. I think the scale up plan is important with all hires, but specifically with salespeople because it takes some time to fill your pipeline. So I don't expect a closer to come in and close right out of the gate. I know there's always this ramp up period where they're getting familiar with us, our products, our service, our people, our languaging. But I don't want to keep them on my team for 4 months and then find out that they were a really terrible fit and I've been losing money the whole time. All right, we went through the entire sales process in 15 minutes or less. Now you know what needs to happen. And you probably are also seeing quite a few gaps in what you actually have in place in your sales system. And I hope what you're taking away is not a sense of overwhelm, but a sense of understanding of like, oh, this makes sense. So here's what happens when you try to scale and you kind of hit that glass ceiling where you can't seem to get beyond that number. What it's showing you is you have a system that supports that volume of sales. You cannot do $1 million a year in sales on a $200,000 system. You cannot do $5 million in sales on a $1 million system. So if you want to scale those sales up, you have to evolve the process. You have to evolve the system and the team so that you can really scale and not hit up against that barrier that you've always hit in the past. So if you actually want to work on this, I'd love to invite you to my 2-day Acquire event. This is a workshop that we do where day 1, we build out your organic marketing to make sure you have enough lead flow to increase the sales. And then day 2, we actually go through the sales system. We work on the standard operating procedures, the customer journey, the scripting, the sales skills, all the things that you need to be able to scale that up. Plus, we also show you how to hire your salespeople and walk you through that process as well. So I would love to have you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And also, you're welcome to just go and grab a free ticket and I would love to get to spend 2 days really working with you and digging into your business. All right, thank you so much for being here with us today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you are ready to learn more about organic lead generation, go click on the next masterclass, which is how to fix the 5 biggest problems in your marketing. Can't wait to see you there.